Our big story this morning, Health Facilities Regulatory Agency, HEFRA, says basic laboratories across the country are to be headed by a licensed medical laboratory technician. This person must be in good standing with the Allied Health Professional Council. On the other hand, primary, secondary and tertiary labs are to be headed by either a laboratory medicine specialist or a licensed biomedical scientist. This clarification comes in the wake of an impasse between medical laboratory scientists across the country and the Ghana Medical Association, which is the association of doctors across the country, over the appointment of 2 doctors to leadership positions at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. JoyNews has cited this letter written by HEFRA to the Ghana Medical Association. And that's the letter you have on your screen. It's a rejoinder regarding the regulation of laboratory services or laboratory spaces in health facilities. Is written to the president of the Ghana Medical Association, Abu Bakri, and it's signed by Dr. Philip Bano, who is an MD. He's the registrar for the Healthcare Facilities Regulatory Agency. You can catch those details on myjoyonline.com. Let's go straight to the phone lines now. Dr. Abu Rahmani, president of the Ghana Biomedical Scientists Association, has joined us. Now, sir, you have been having series of meetings to resolve the issues regarding this strike. What is the position of your members now after seeing this letter from HEFRA?
Yes, good morning to your listeners. Certainly, GAM is very shocked. If I use the word shocked, probably it's an understatement for HEFRA to have come out with such a statement. We have dealt with HEFRA. We know what is in the HEFRA Act 2011, and as such, for the registrar of HEFRA to come up with such a statement shows clearly the agenda that we have always been talking about. Because just relate what HEFRA has said now to what HEFRA said in the IT's report. You can then see clearly the game and then the plan of what has been put across. Okay,
for the sake of our viewers who are not aware of what was said in the IT report, what did HEFRA say then? How is that different from what is being said now?
The HEFRA, the act that regulates HEFRA has nothing about primary, secondary, and tertiary laboratories.
Okay.
There is nothing like that. In fact, the HEFRA Act states clearly that for anyone who has to be licensed to manage a laboratory has to be a medical laboratory scientist with a 5 years experience. Clearly stated. You can check with the Act. So how come that a whole registrar of HEFRA could come out with such a statement, which is not backed by law?
Forgive me, Dr. Rahmani, but it looks like the position of HEFRA now is not that different from what you're stating. They have said in their letter that for basic laboratories, they would be headed by laboratory scientists, and then for primary, secondary, and tertiary laboratories, they'll be headed by biomedical scientists.
The law does not state anywhere. The law does not mention anywhere laboratory physicians. Okay? In the law, laboratory physicians were not mentioned anywhere. So we are at a shock. How come HEFRA is now indicating and inserting laboratory physician into an act of parliament?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We don't want to push this. Certainly, when we want to take this, people it is seen as if we are always fighting a system. But you can see that there's a clear agenda, because in the HEFRA Act, nothing was mentioned of laboratory physician. Nothing was mentioned of a primary, secondary, and a tertiary laboratory. Laboratory is laboratory. Okay, that was what was mentioned. There was no division of laboratory in the Act.
Okay.
And so it is so surprising that the registrar of HEFRA, who come out, and as you said, the letter that was leaked, it was a request from our sister profession. So everything is being made just to present their issue in good light for them. So it has to, anything that they have to do just to procure something to favor them, they will do. But we can promise them that the time of the past is gone. This time, we are not going to sit and allow that issue to be taken out of order. Okay, it is so disheartening that when other stakeholders are doing everything possible to bring an amicable solution to this, HIFRA, which is supposed to be a neutral organization, that is supposed to make sure that all professions come together so that we manage the hospitals as expected, is taking or is going this particular direction. It's rather unfortunate. Seriously, it's unfortunate.
Dr. Ramani, you said earlier that you are not going to sit and allow this to happen. What does that mean in terms of practical action? What will your association do?
Well, for now, we have seen what he has written. We will certainly, we don't act out of our own emotions, even though this morning we are emotionally, I don't know, I don't want to use any other word, but then the registrar has really surprised us because he is a gentleman that we know. We have interacted with him and we know that he's a very fine gentleman. But to allow himself to be forced to write such a report is highly unfortunate. But all the same, we will not act, we will act based on advice from our lawyers.
Now, we know that you are meeting the select committee in Parliament. What are the options on the table from your end?
Well, certainly we've sent some memorandum to Parliament, and we are going to speak to those issues directly. I don't want to jump the gun because we need to meet them and then give them a clear understanding of what the issues are, and then how, from our end, we think the issue can be sorted out or resolved amicably. This issue can be resolved so much amicably without any antagonism or any kind of fight or any kind of issue. We believe that things can be done very well. And once Parliament has taken charge of the issue, we will go and do our presentation. And then from there, we can, the National Executive Council will then decide what we need to do.
Right. Very quickly, you've been served by NLC, but on the other hand, you say that in reacting to HEFRA, you would act on advice of your lawyers. Are you going to take HEFRA to court? Are you going to start another legal procedure outside what the NLC itself has started?
Well, like I indicated, Parliament has taken seat of the issue. We are going to go to Parliament. We are going to listen to them. And then we'll know the way forward.
Are you not ignoring the court order to go back to work?
Not at all. Not at all. We are not ignoring. In fact, we are law-abiding profession. And as such, I know my regional chairman and my regional chapters are working very strongly to ensure that the court orders are obeyed or respected.
So when will we see your members back as post?
That is something we can speak to later in the day. For now, our attention is meeting Parliament and then presenting our issues to Parliament. And whatever the outcome is, certainly we'll make it available to the public. Right.
I just want to get this quick clarification before we end the conversation. Say, your understanding of the letter written by HEFRA is that for primary healthcare laboratory facilities, they'll be headed by lab techs, and then laboratory physicians and biomedical sciences will be heading the secondary and the tertiary facilities. Is that your understanding of the HEFRA letter? I just wanted to get that clarification.
Yes, our understanding is that HEFRA has categorized the laboratories and then has allocated the various sections to various professions. But what we know by law is laboratory is a laboratory. That is what the law specifically states. Law did not categorize the lab experience. And in the act on which HEFRA is depending on, there was no mention of laboratory physician in it. We have no problem with the laboratory physician, but in this particular case, they were not mentioned in there. So where from them? Like, how come they were inserted in? Who is controlling who at this point in time?
Dr. Rahman, thank you very much for joining us this morning on News Desk. We move to other stories, and more than 700 residents of Agaveji and other coastal communities in the Ketu South municipality have been displaced following tidal waves there which blew their homes away. We'll show you what happened in K2 South just days ago. But first, this is what our My Community cameras captured at Salakofe and Amushino in 2018.
It's a room, man. Yes, it's a room. Yes. Here's the beginning of the house. Come. Yeah. This is the beginning of the house. The houses start from here till that place. And the second one is over there in the sea. And that piece is house. It's a house. Yeah, so this place is a house for us. And the room too. About 3 bedrooms here was destroyed by the sea. Yeah. The foundation of our senior brother, Ernest Bojoka Tete. That is his foundation. Assistant pastor of African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church house, and the room too. That place is in the sea. What's we doing?
Hello, madam. Dia tak kena mabubana. Berapa? Amo yang foto ah. Iba
Now, the resident says the government has not shown commitment over the years to fix the situation permanently for them. They accuse the assembly of giving out land that could be used to resettle residents to some foreigners to mine salt. Our correspondent Ivy Setoji has been speaking with some of them.
Que agbedanyi gba kana la miashia do komili ko ba afia ba ho garata o fia yomba to di sewo abe nyen nelia aba to di sewo gba to ko no viamu afali ama no yin aton le ama no yin afia ba nyen nelia te pa fia rugo mi ma se gom
The sea has really destroyed our lands and still destroying, but nothing seems to be done about it. The only land we have by the side of the lagoon which can be used to resettle us has been given to some foreigners for the salt project. We have appealed to the government several times, but no response.
Who are our leaders? I am asking because if we really do have good leaders, all these things wouldn't be happening to us. We generate a lot of revenue for the assembly. And yet nothing is done about the tidal waves. We have nowhere to go because of the devastation. We don't know why our leaders have taken the side of the foreigners who are taking our lands despite the destruction of our homes and properties by the sea. We are pleading with government and the international community to come to our aid.
Elliot Edem Agbenowu is Municipal Chief Executive of K2 South. He's on the telephone lines to explain the Assembly side of this tragedy. Mr. Agbenowu, so what is the Assembly doing to practically come to the aid of these people? Hello, Mr. Agbenowu, can you hear me? Right, so the visuals currently on your screen are from Agaveji. It's a coastal community, and it's one of many coastal communities that have been affected by tidal waves. As you saw earlier with some of the visuals that we showed you, entire homes have had their foundations eaten away by the high tides which come in from the sea. Of course, the bigger issue here is really about the issues, the conditions of the climate, and why it's the case that the shorelines are getting thinner and the sea is eating farther into the surface of the land. But there are some reliefs that the people expect from their assembly authorities, and this is one of the questions that are being raised. Unfortunately, they claim that the lands that were initially available for them to relocate to have been given to some foreigners for them to mine salt. And as a result, they are out of options when it comes to places to move to. As you can see there, some terracing was there, some rocks were placed on the seashore to prevent the waves of the sea from coming up. And those are the rocks currently in your shot. However, it looks like these rocks have done very little, or they are not enough to actually prevent the devastation that is currently happening. If you look there, this building is under construction, but still we find that the waves are eaten away from the very foundation of this building. This is placing anyone who is going to live there in a very, very precarious state. My community's team has been speaking with the authorities and the people of Agaveji over the years. Let's bring you what's the discussion that they had in 2018.
On number fear, Yama fear Mila, or do Tapanamia Balek, or do Katana, no Dofman, do Fiamina Mako, Mauva Miami, Miami Potapella, and no, in fact, Garuma Aroga, Tapapagano, here, Documiano Chahu, Navagara Miaji, Akaka, Motomi, Apogayu, Camilla Ficano, Gamiaco, Camille Bama, Tamate Gonamiaji, Damikura, Gano of Meta. But young, the man of fear, Mila fear, and what of. Okay.
Okay, so Daniel Tete also is a resident here, and he's saying that, well, it will be good to be given the valley across the street, but just as how it's been done for the people of Qatar with the Sea Defense Project, they should do the same thing for them as well, because the filling the valley where the Amelia suggested earlier, his point is that if that is done, government is going to spend money on that project, and so they might as well use that money to kind of get them the Sea Defense Project quickly.
Let's now go back to the phone lines and speak to Elliot Edem Agbeno, Municipal Chief Executive of Ketu South. He's on the phone to explain the assembly side of this tragedy. Mr. Agbeno, where are you speaking to us from?
Yes, I'm speaking from Salakope. First of all, let me say a very good morning to our cherished viewers and listeners. I'm speaking to you right away at Salakope. I've been trekking for over 5 kilometers now because the entire road has been blocked, and even threatened to burn my car. The police have to barricade my car, and they demanded that I walk for that kilometer to enable me to receive their petition and also address it. So I think I've done about 4 kilometers now. So I'm at Salakope now, moving towards Adambe.
And these persons who threaten to burn your car are residents who are demanding...
They are demonstrators. They are the people who are demonstrating. The angry people. It got a bit chaotic because they were trying even to pull the gun from the police. And they threatened to even beat up some police officers, just because the police think that they don't want to go hard on them. They were trying to calm the situation. And so because of that, some policemen are even in the car now, because they threaten that when they see them, they're going to beat them. And their anger is that for them, the youth, especially the youth, they do not understand why I'm a native and they are municipal chief executive, and yet the Sea Defense Project haven't done it. My explanation to them has been that as the chief executive for the assembly hasn't got a resource, that amount of resource to construct a sea defense wall. But again, they have to recall that it is due to my influence and this government that I have done the extension that was started by the Israel government. In 2017, we have been able to do that. The president has ordered the finance to release money for Amandi Holdings to come and continue and finish that project somewhere in 2019. And it was in that same year, 2019, that we have begun the extension project. We call it Blekusu Phase 2. That has gone far up to finance level for approval. However, it has some bottlenecks at the ministry. And so after election 2020 and now 2021, we have commenced a new process again. Apparently, the sea continues to destroy. That is the truth. Displace people and also to destroy property. That is the bad truth. And I know my people are suffering. Because of that, we have also commenced a new process which has seen the hydrological service being sent to this place from the Ministry of Works and Housing. They came and had a meeting with the community and also assessed the situation themselves. And so they went back, and I have got a reply through my regional minister, who have also been working hard, and currently who is also in Accra on the same project issue from the Works and Housing, assuring me that my Sea Defense Project, that is a priority for them, and they are seeking approval from finance so they can engage the contractor to come to site. Yes.
Right. So I just want to ask, Ms. Agbeno, as much as we don't condone violence and we don't condone persons breaking the law, 700 people have been displaced. They are currently demonstrating. In spite of the efforts that have been put in by your government, your regional minister, and the Works and Housing Ministry, they don't have a place to sleep. Is their anger not justified?
We've gotten a place for them. Indeed, it is not appropriate. And when they happen first, as we have engaged them, they are not willing to move far away from where they are. Indeed, this is where they also get their livelihood. And so we understood them that when we take them far away, it's going to worry them in terms of going back to do their fishing regularly as they do. And so there is a portion at the outskirts of the town where we normally call Kota, Salakope and Agaveji Kota, which is under contention between the two communities, Agaveji and Salakope. So what we did was MUSEC to come in, that's the Security Council, and lay hands on that portion. And now form a committee of both Agaveji and Salakope, including the assembly members, that those who are displaced should write their name and go to that place, which is just about a kilometer or less than a kilometer from the coast. It's just at the outskirts of the town here. And so that is where they are going. And we've also instructed that we should do just a temporary structure where we wait for NADMO to bring some tents for those who couldn't do the temporary structure. And also the road linking to the place. We've also appealed to a salt company, 7 Seas, to do the construction for them. And the assembly have also currently extending water to where they are currently, some people are currently relocating to. And so it is not true that they haven't got any place. We have allocated that place for them in the meantime as we continue to wait on the ministry to expedite action on the sea defense project.
Now, on this issue of the ministry expediting action on the sea defense project, we had a conversation with you in 2018, and we had similar assurances that work is ongoing, it's in the pipeline, action must be expedited. 3 years down the line, we are where we are currently. What's the guarantee that this time will be any different?
Yes, the 2018 was supposed to be a continuation from phase 1 to phase 2. But again, when I was pushing, there was the need for the Parliamentary Select Committee, which also supervised and oversee the works of the Ministry of Works and Housing, to come and also assess the first work that was done. And so they came, and they spent, I think, 3 days here. We toured the entire place, and they've seen the new place that I'm advocating for the extension. And indeed, they've also agreed with me that there was a need for that extension. And so they went and also gave their report to the ministry. I was only wishing, I was only waiting patiently for the ministry to commence the process, only to see again ravaging and also taking more houses back into the sea and also displacing the people. So I believe that where we have gotten to now calls for an urgent attention, and the ministry, it's in that light that the ministry has sent emissaries to come and look at the place and also do their recommendations. And I believe that the Member of Parliament is also talking to his colleague ministers, and I would only hope that with all the efforts that we are putting in now, it will definitely receive the necessary attention. Government is not totally oblivious of this. As I said, the process has commenced earlier, had some bottleneck, and this time around we can assure our people that we will try and do our very best so that extension will be done to protect the coastline.
I'm sorry, Mr. Agbenu, but it sounds very similar to what you told us in 2018. We will do it, we'll make sure it's done, it's very important to us. The Parliamentary Select Committee came, and then the work was not done. This time is the Ministry of Works and Housing that has sent the Hydrological Service to come and look at this. What's the real guarantee that 3 years down the line, we will not have a similar conversation? Are you able to give any timelines to your assurances, Mr. Agbenu?
I can only assure, but to give a timeline, I wouldn't be able. But I can assure that because of the calls I've started receiving from my big men, ministers in Accra, and some head of agencies, I can only assure my people with a certainty that in the shortest time possible, the contractor will be returning to site for phase 2. Because I'm saying this because my regional minister have assured me that there were other people who also came to him with assurance that they can finance even the project. So what they are waiting for now is for a letter of intent or approval that the Ministry of Works and Housing is taking. I wouldn't take too long for the team that is ready now with the finance to actually do the project and go into that agreement with government, so government can pay them later. So I believe that with a new path that we are charting, it wouldn't be too long. We'll have a very positive response.
Is it in the ministry's budget by way of, by way of assurance? Is it in the ministry's budget?
Ministry of Works and Housing, yes, it is in their budget.
For which year?
Yes.
For which year? For which year, Mr. Agbenu? Is it 2018, 2019, or 2020?
Oh, currently it is in the budget.
How much?
Oh, you mean the amount? I wouldn't be able to mention the exact amount. And
what's the source of funding?
Not in the budget. The Minister for Works and Housing, the Honorable Minister, wouldn't have written to finance taking an approval for this year. Once the thing is not in project in the budget, unless you do a review, which is just this June, that we are doing a review. So whether it's in the budget or not, which I'm sure that it's in the budget for this year, because my information is that they have sent a lot of projects to finance, taking approval for many of them. However, finance has scaled them to a number, and that number, my area is part of that number. That is why I can be sure and talk to you that it will be done.
Mr. Agbenu, you are well aware, as I'm sure that you are briefed by the experts, that because of the construction of phase 1 of the sea defense, which was done close to 4 years ago, more of the water has been directed to the area earmarked for phase 2, which is why we are seeing disasters of this level in Agaveji and the surrounding communities. If this is not done expeditiously, these people are going to face bigger challenges than what they're currently facing. You're aware of this? Do you agree?
Can you come again with the question? Can you come again with the
yes,
question?
My question is, are you aware that because of the completion of phase 1 of this project, the water that should have gone over the shore at phase 1 is now being directed here, and so these people's lives are in more danger?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Agbenu.
Myself, I'm a fisherman, and you cannot actually block a pathway for water. Once you block a pathway for water, water finds its own way. And so definitely what the assertion we are putting across is the truth that I've always been saying, that is because of where the sea defense project is one is ended. It has therefore pushed the water, the seawater, into the adjoining communities and the houses. And that is normal with water, behavior of water, everywhere. Even when people block that is where water will have to find its way to destroy houses and other things. And so what we can say here and proposing is that what we did first was 4.2 kilometers up to part of Agaveji. What is left now from Agaveji to Aflau border is about 10 kilometers or 10.2 kilometers. And so that is what we are advocating for. However, we can do phase 2, phase 3, just as it was done at Atoko in the Keita Anglo Enclave. That was phase 1 project, phase 2, and the phase 3. So whichever way, even if it is just 5 kilometers, we got now, or 6, that can cover up to part of Adina, where we can have some breathing space, then we can continue with the phase 3 of it. The cost of doing these things are just expensive. Otherwise, even the assembly would have done this. This is where I come from, and I know what is happening. The assembly do not have the resources. Otherwise, we would have done that. So all that we are telling our people is that this is the natural phenomenon. This is the natural disaster. The government is not doing anything. They have a cause to complain. But
thank you.
They know that solve the problem for them. So they just give us some time and we'll fix it for them.
Thank you, Elliot Edem Agbeno. He's the Municipal Chief Executive for K2 South. This is News Desk. Stay with us. Still have a News Desk. Thanks for staying with us. Now, over 500 girls of the Wulugu Senior High School in the Northeast region have been evacuated from their dormitory block following the poor state of the building. The students were evacuated by the school authorities for fear of the dilapidated building collapsing on them. They've since been moved to the school dining hall, which has no ventilation, raising fears of possible outbreak of the deadly cerebrospinal meningitis in the school. There's more in the following report by Ilyasu Tanko.
We are really suffering in our dormitories because a room that is occupied with 5 beds, that's supposed to occupy with 10 students, is occupying with 15 or 16 of them, which makes it difficult for us in the dormitory. And more to the point, even some of our colleagues are moved to the dining hall due to lack of accommodation, that is to accommodate us. We have not been seeing any changes. So we are pleading on behalf of the school for the government to look upon us and help us do concerning our dormitories and the dining hall too. At least I can just say that we don't even have toilet facilities in the school, because almost all the boarding house students are going into the bush, whether it is raining season or dry season. They are going into the bush to attend to nature calls. In fact, the girls are just throwing the used parts everywhere, anywhere on campus, anywhere they found themselves, especially in the bush side, which is very dangerous, because I am worried if some ritualists may come over there and gather them and go and do something bad to my dear girls, which will make them barren when they get married or whatever. So we would like the government to help us in all these things, which will help improve our lives as students.
If you look at the boys' dormitories, we face a lot of problems. Even there have been a situation where some masters or people bring their children for school and then they have sent them back because of the nature of the environment and then the way the dormitory is constructed. It has building that was since the year the school was introduced and up to date, even plastering itself, it has not been plastered. So we are just appealing to the government to come to our aid. And then more to the point, when it comes to toilet facilities, we are still appealing. Government should come to our aid. Our dining hall, let me just say for now, we don't have dining hall, because our dining hall have been taken over as dormitory for girls.
You're live on JoyNews Desk. Now, the 2 former champions of the Lovefm High School debate have been kicked out of the 3rd edition, which opened in Kumasi. The 2019 champion, St. Jerome Senior High School, was beaten by Ifya Kobisewa SHS, whilst winners of the maiden edition, T.I. Amas, was whipped by Adventist Girls SHS. The highly competitive opening contests displayed high oratory in debating to the delight of participants at the Christian Service University auditorium. Lovefm's Erastus Asaridonko was there and has filed this report.
Motion was topical. Media ethics breaches are to blame for the compromise of press freedom, not the government. Speakers for T.I. Amas and Adventist Girls Senior High Schools were articulate for and against the motion.
The media practitioners should be blamed for the compromise of their freedom. It's the way some of them sometimes incite the public to revolt against authority. It is unprofessional and unethical to incite in the general public to revolt against authority. Unfortunately, unfortunately, most of the journalists are found guilty of this crime, and if their freedom is compromised, our opponents want us to level it against the government. We are sorry, we do not agree with you.
The chair, fellow students, the government should be blamed for the compromise of press freedom, since government officials are notorious for threatening media personnel. The chair, we're all here in this country when a group of investigative journalists had to spend part of 2018 in hiding after producing a documentary about corruption in Ghanaian football titled Number 12. These journalists went into hiding because their lives were being threatened.
Adventist girls had a sum total of 215, which is up to 71.6%. T.I. Amas had 204, totaling 68%. The winners for the first contest in the 2021 edition of the Lovefm High School debate goes to Adventist girls.
We told you before that our confidence and like our preparation this time around was very, very different. It was totally different.
The judges delivered their verdict, 204-215 in favor of Adventist Girls Senior High School. The second contest for the day saw defending champions St. Jerome Senior High School fall to Efiakobi Senior High School. The score, 214-236 for the motion. The double track system has more negatives than positives.
The double track system has led to the emergence of inconsistent and unstable academic calendar, making our education look ridiculous. Since the inception of the double track system, students, parents, and teachers always have to wait like soldiers ready to go to war. They need to always wait for an answer from their GES every time before they can ascertain when school resumes and vacates.
One of the criticisms against the implementation of the free SHS was that it would compromise the quality of education at that level. However, the introduction of the double track system has put us in high school on the right track towards improving the quality of education. Before the inception of the double track system, Ghana's education system was already ranked as one of the poorest in the world. This is evidently supported by the global school rankings done by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in 2015.
St. Jerome had 214, representing 71.3%. Efiakobi had 236, representing 78.7%. So, moving on to the next stage of the competition, Efiakobi Ampim Senior High School.
The losing schools received recognition from multimedia plus shopping vouchers from Melcom.
Thank you.
Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Congratulations to the winning schools, and the excitement continues here on Joy News, Joy Prime TV, and of course on Joy Learning Television. Your live on news desk. Up next is Business with Daryl Kwao.
And welcome everyone. Time for business. My name is Daryl Kwao. Banking consultant Nano Tue Champon expects banks to adjust interest rates in line with the policy rate review by the central bank. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana reduced the policy rate Monday by 1% to 13.5%, the first time since November 2019. Mr. Tue Champon is upbeat about its impact.
We need is one of them to go out of line and offer a cheap loan, and you see that everybody will be trooping there, and then it will force the others to follow suit. So I think this time round, judging by the state of the economy, the transmission rate may be faster than we've seen in time past.
Within the next 2 months, you should expect something to happen?
Well, my prediction is that within 2 to 3 months, if competition sets in, you will see the transmission rate here.
And for you, should businesses be excited by this?
They should be overjoyed about this, because it's the reduction in interest rate, which is defined as the cost of money, the cost of using other people's money, is what drives businesses. Without money, you cannot manufacture. Without money, you cannot even buy and sell.
Now, 103 caregivers have been supported by SOS Ghana with grants to venture into agriculture, petty trading, amongst others. The 123,000 cedi support is to improve living conditions of vulnerable families. An additional 60 people are expected to receive the grant by the end of 2021. and the SOS Children's Village Ghana's Family Economic and Livelihood Empowerment Program aims to help caregivers overcome life's challenges and take good care of their children. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin has more.
Without a stable and protective family, children are exposed to multiple risk factors, leaving them to neglect, abuse, discrimination, and exploitation. SOS Children's Village Ghana's Family Strengthening Program helps families stay together through various models. Since 2019, the program, through its partner agencies, has helped families, among others, to build their own future.
Over the last 2.5 years, we are working at communities, and we have supported over 1,030 children in 314 families. I want to stress that poverty is not a culture of African. It is our duty to work hard to reduce the poverty gap in Africa.
In fact, I am very, very happy. Very, very. Now, when I wake up early in the morning, I take my bath, I take my key, then go to my shop.
Oh, I'm going to start with the work just because of the work. That's why I came for support. So they have given me the machine. And I'm going to do his house. They said, oh, I feel good. I feel so excited.
120 youth have received traditional and innovative employability training. Some of them have either obtained regular employment or set up their businesses.
We also supported 103 caregivers, 123,000 Ghana cedis to also start their own businesses. Some of the parents who are here today, and we are very happy to report that some of them are doing very, very well.
The Juso community has been empowered to stand up for the rights of their children. The creation of 5 child rights clubs in communities within the area has helped address many challenges.
One of the key problems in our country is youth unemployment. So any attempt to address that problem through proper skills acquisition and training, hands-on job creation, we are more than ready to support it. So we will continue to support the young people of Juso and Jabin with job creation skills, especially technical and vocational education.
Over 2,000 students have received indirect support in 8 schools, while over 150 teachers received in-service training to develop their skills.
And there's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com. In fact, a very important story you should look out for: tax payment and filing of annual returns to go online today. That's it for business. Sports is up next.